Hey everybody, my name is Leslie Gossett Whalen, and I run the School of Earth and Awe. I'm an herbalist, a forager, a naturalist, and an outdoor educator, and my big passion in the world is to teach people that there are plants growing right outside our own doors that are full of food and medicine. The reason why I call my school the School of Earth and Awe is because it brings me to awe every time I sit down and actually acknowledge the abundance that we are gifted with. Every plant around us can feed us, can heal us, and I feel like we've really taken this for granted in modern life. And beyond just people taking it for granted, we're being actively taught and trained to be afraid of these very plants that hold within them so much goodness. This is the reason why I like to help people take this wisdom and this knowledge back into their own hands. This knowledge is our birthright. This knowledge and this wisdom and this know-how was held by all of our ancestors, and it's only been a few generations ago that suddenly this knowledge stopped getting passed down, like many ancestral skills today. And so I'm here to just help you understand how simple it can be to go outside, to identify a plant, and then to know how to process it for food or medicine. I have been doing this since 2009. I've been studying plant medicine, but I've only been teaching to the public for the past year and almost a half. And after much prodding from a lot of people in my community, I'm finally going to offer some videos here to the public. And so I hope that you'll follow along with me and learn something. If there's ever anything you'd like me to cover, please let me know. I love kind of meeting people where they are, but I wanted to just introduce myself with my view of herbal medicine and of health in general, because I think this is a very important aspect of our practice. So where do herbs and plants fit into overall wellness? I think we have to start shifting our mindset out of the modern medical paradigm, which sort of teaches us that disease is inevitable, and that cures are just take a pill, mask the symptoms, live with it. Now, I don't actually believe that that's true and that that's the fate of being human. So our bodies are constantly in every moment trying to come back into balance. It's called homeostasis. Every single cell in our body on the molecular level is working to achieve balance and homeostasis. And our most intelligent design, I mean, the body is absolutely miraculous in the intricate ways that it creates this homeostasis and that it allows us to go through our life processes, the tiny little mechanisms and everything functioning. And there are a few factors in modern life that actually set us up for failure almost before we start. And so it is my belief that the first step towards health and healing is to get our 5 foundations in order. And plants can really come into play after we have addressed our lifestyle, and the five foundations of health, as I name them, are based on the 5 elements. And it's really just this simple and very human practice of being outside. So whenever I think about, is this health intervention good? Should I do this? Should I do that? I ask myself what my great granny would do. She lived on a farm. She made all of her own food. She raised her animals. She grew her vegetables. Everything she ate was from scratch. And she lived to be 104, and she lived a happy life. And I'm very blessed that I actually got to know her because she lived so long. And so that has really inspired me to really walk in her footsteps. And so thinking back to these ancestral ways, is health so complicated? Do we need expensive gadgets? Do we need, infrared saunas? And do we need to buy, supplements that cost $200 a month? And I say, let's take it back to basics first. And the basics are 1, earth. Okay, tend to what you eat. Stop eating basically most things in grocery stores because they're poisoning us. So if it's packaged, if it's bagged, if it's ultra processed, commercially processed, just don't eat it. So we need to go back to eating locally grown seasonal fruits and vegetables. We need to eat grass-fed meat that's not been pumped full of antibiotics and hormones. We need to eat things in their most base form. So raw honey, right? Freshly milled grains. We need to add ferments back into our diet. And once we've achieved this, we're giving ourselves a really, really good place, a really good set of building blocks for our bodies to do all of the life processes that they need to do. Next, we have to tend to our water. So water coming out of the tap is filled with chemicals. Some of them are even like known carcinogens. And so what we need to do is filter our water, but I think there's a little bit of confusion on that because not all filters are created equally, and some filters are stripping minerals out of our water. Most disease today is caused by mineral deficiencies, and so when we're talking about water, if you're reverse osmosis filtering your water, it doesn't have minerals left in it, and now you're depleting your body of necessary and crucial minerals, which are building blocks for health. So we need to start remineralizing our water, or drinking spring water, looking at these healthy and nourishing water sources. You can also get minerals from real salts like Celtic sea salt, Redmond real salt, not iodized table salt. Throw that in the trash. So after we tend to our water and then actually make sure that we're hydrating, let's tend to our air. So most of the air is toxic, it's full of chemicals. This is one part of air. So do we need to get an air filter? Do we need to check on the air quality in our location? We have an air doctor in our house and I love it. I can tell a big difference when I'm staying somewhere without the filtered air. But the second piece of air is like, do you know how to breathe? So it's incredible to learn how much power our breath has in terms of healing our body. And when we learn to take conscious breaths, when we actually breathe from our whole, with our whole lungs, we're taking in more oxygen. Oxygen is needed by every cell to produce ATP, which is the fuel that fuels our bodily processes. So learning to breathe slowly, to breathe from the belly, these are crucial aspects to health and well-being. Okay, so the next element is going to be fire, and by that I mean the sunshine. We've been conditioned to think that the sun is killing us, and this is absolutely not true. We are sun beings. Humans have existed in the sunlight for all of our existence, and the sun is life. Without the sunlight, we would die. The plants would not grow. The animals could not survive. We absolutely need the sun. And so I think there's a lot of confusion around sun, and I'm not going to get too deeply into this because I could talk for an hour, but start looking into circadian biology and understanding that our bare eyes and bare skin both have photoreceptors, and the sunlight is actually signaling to our bodies what time of day it is and what season it is. These signals tell our bodies how much and when to release hormones and neurotransmitters. And so when we're staying inside all day, when we're lathering in sunscreen where our photoreceptors can't receive that light signaling, when we're staring at screens all day that signal to our brains that it's high noon in the middle of summer, we are absolutely throwing off every part of how our body functions and attempts to maintain homeostasis. And so that being said, I'm really advocating for getting outside. The 3 most important times of day to be outside are right at sunrise, at solar noon, and then again at sunset. You're getting the proper light signaling. And remember, it's not through glasses and contacts, it's bare eyes and bare skin. And just 10 minutes, 5 minutes even at each of those times is gonna do you a lot of good. Also, we're gonna stop staring at screens when the sun hasn't come up and after the sun goes down. That's absolutely not helping us. The 5th and final element in the 5 foundations of health for me is space. And what I mean by space is I mean our mental and emotional and spiritual space. And what are we tending to? Are we surrounding ourselves with people who are negative and toxic and creating fear and stress, who are not lifting us up, who are making us feel small and constricted? Are we at jobs that pull the life out of us? Are our environments creating toxic and depressive states? So what we really need to do is tend to those environments and do everything we can. I know we can't always just easily change a job or change our living situation, but we really need to think through the things that we can do to start to cultivate strength of mind, strength of heart, and strength of spirit. And so really the importance of having that aspect of health and well-being that is beyond the physical is really crucial. So in my practice, when I help people work through health issues, we get all of that set up first. If you're not tending to your 5 foundations, then there's not really much that's going to help you in terms of health. You might be able to get temporary relief, mask some symptoms, but overall your body is going to be in toxic overload. So once you've sort of got yourself on track, that's where plants can really be helpful. And plants can be helpful in getting you on track. So as you'll hear me talk about, just the fact of eating local and seasonal produce, that's already plant medicine. That is herbalism. You're using plants, working with plants, consuming plants to achieve the benefits that they offer. And so already that's helping you get back on track. But then once you've established that, that's when we can add other types of herbs and plant medicines to help support our body's natural processes. So the herbs aren't going to come in and do a thing that's outside of our bodies. What the herbs do is they kind of help our bodily processes work a little bit better. They'll get the tissues back in order, back online, balance the things that are out of balance, help the body balance the things that are out of balance. So herbs are really incredible supports. And we can talk about herbs in general. You know, they can do things like help the body to modulate the stress response. So that means it really teaches your body how to have less of a reaction under stress than maybe it does now. There are herbs that actually nourish and restore tissues of certain bodily systems. So thinking, you know, if we have a wounded gut and the tissues in the gut are not healed, then there are herbs that can go in there and actually help them get back to a state of healing where that they can do their jobs properly. So beyond that, there are herbs that can help to give ease to aches and pains, you know, sore throats, things like that, but they aren't really just masking the symptoms. When we work with plants, we work with them in a holistic way, because what we want to do is understand why the imbalance is there to begin with and how we can help support it. And so I'm a big fan of home herbalism. You don't need fancy equipment. You don't need, you know, a $6,000 course. You actually can understand and work with herbalism at home with what you already have on hand, including the herbs and spices in your kitchen cabinet. So follow along with me, and I'm gonna show you some tips and tricks to help get your herbalism practice started at home and to build up your homestead apothecary.